All right, so now we're gonna go add the snake food and make sure that it's spawning in correctly. So obviously when the flag is clicked, we need to start showing it. And when the game ends and we get the broadcast for game ended, we need to delete it. So we'll just hide it if we receive game ends. All right. Now we're gonna add some more variables here. We're gonna first make a variable called score so we can keep track of the score. And it's good. It's actually, we're gonna leave it being shown so that we can keep track of it. And we can also just say that every time the flag is clicked, just set score to 0. All right. And we're gonna add 2 more variables, but these ones are going to be local variables. So we're gonna say for this sprite only. And the 2 that we're gonna add are going to be called new X and new Y. And this is because these are the new places we're going to spawn the food. And we gotta make sure that these are actually not shown. The only one that's shown is score. That's it. Another one, new Y, also for the sprite only, and also not shown. All right, so we're gonna set those up, and we're gonna use this in a little while, but we're also gonna make sure that we are first spawning the food in a standard place. Let's say we're just gonna put it at 100 and negative 100, or negative 100 and 100. So we're just gonna set the X and the Y over here. I'm gonna set the X to negative 100 and set the Y to 100. So it always first spawns somewhere over here where it's not in our way. Right? So the first one is not going to be random, but the rest of them will be spawning in a random place as long as it's not where we are at, right? So one of the reasons why it was very important to keep a list and keep track of where every single part of the snake is because we got to make sure that the food doesn't spawn on top of us, right? It needs to spawn somewhere else on the screen. And we're going to randomly generate numbers and check to make sure that they're not going to be on where we already are at, right? So we're going to have a forever loop going on here. And inside of that, we're going to just keep checking and seeing, first of all, are we even in need of producing a new food, right? Because every time we grab the food, we need to spawn a new food because that becomes part of our snake. And then we need to have a new goal to go towards. So first, we're just going to check and see if we have got this food already. So we're going to say if we touch the color green, which would be the head of the snake. So I'm just going to run this so we have the snake. And I'm going to say, hey, if we touch the color, and for the color, we use the head of the snake this time. So not the body, the head. Grab the head. If we touch that head color, we first need to add 1 to the length of the snake because now the snake is 1 longer, obviously. So we're going to go to change snake length by 1. And then we're going to add 1 to the score because obviously we've got a new food and we need to up the score by 1. So we're going to go change score by 1. And now we're going to just set some random new numbers to the 2 variables that we put together, new X and new Y. All right, and the way we do it is we just pick a random number and we multiply it by 20. Because remember, 20 was the size of these squares. So we need to look at these places as 20 by 20 squares, right? So we're going to say pick random times 20. And the number, we're going to put it at positive 9 and negative 9, right? Because we want to make sure it falls within these borders. So negative 9 to positive 9, essentially, we're picking a random number between negative 180, negative 160, negative 140, all the way to 140, 160, 180. All right? And we're going to do the same for the Y, but a little bit smaller because the Y is a little bit more limited. So pick random, or let me actually put the times over there, times 20. We're going to pick randomly between negative 7 and 7. All right, so again, new X to pick random from negative 9 to 9 times 20, and pick new Y from random negative 7 randomly between -7 and 7 times 20. All right. Now that we've produced the random number, we need to check and make sure that this is a new square where we're not already on. So our snake body isn't already covering that square, because if it is, we need to generate another random number, because that's obviously not going to work for us. So we're going to have a repeat until, and the repeat until, we're just going to check for that. We're going to say repeat until we get a new point that doesn't already exist in our list. So we're going to say repeat until not, and we're going to check for both the y and the x, and we need to use and. We're going to say repeat until and because we have the not, we're just going to check for the opposite of it, which is we're going to check to see if the list has it, so that if that's not the case, we keep repeating, if that makes sense. And we're going to say repeat until snake body x contains this new variable, new x, and snake body y contains new y. All right, so let me just walk you through what's happening here, because it got a little too confusing, too many negatives and positives and all of that, and this is obviously a snake body y. Let me just walk you through what's happening. So we're first checking and saying, okay, if this number that we generated is in snake body x and the number y is in snake body y, then if both of these are true, then obviously we're not meeting the condition, right? Because we're saying if not that, right? So if this is not the case, we keep repeating. If they are both the case, we don't repeat. All right. So again, let me give you an example. Let's say our x is inside of our list and our y is also in our list. So we're gonna see, okay, x is in the list, y is also in the list, which means that, hey, do we repeat or do we not repeat? Yes, we do, because we're checking for the not of that, right? So we're saying repeat until this is not the case. Repeat until we don't have these numbers in our list. And as long as we do have it in our list, then we're going to keep repeating. All right, hopefully that makes sense for you guys. All right, so now that we are repeating this, obviously we need to do the same thing. We need to keep doing this until we get to the right number. So we're going to keep setting new x and new y. I'm just going to stop that. New y to the same thing. So the picked random number times 20. There we go. Pick random from -9 to +9, and from -7 to +7. And they're both times 20. All right, and we're just going to keep repeating that until we get to a point where they are not included in our list. And once that happens, then we're good to go. So we're going to put that food in that new x and y that we've generated. So we're just going to go to x and y. And we're going to make sure we put this outside of the repeat until, but inside of the if. And we say go to these local variables that we have created. All right, so that's pretty much all we need to do to make sure that the food keeps spawning and it keeps spawning in a new place. So let's go ahead and try it out and see how this works. So right there, and once we do that, our length increases and we spawn to the right place. Let's try this. Very nice. And I'm just going to keep checking to make sure that we're spawning in a place that we are not at. And this is exactly what's happening. And it's very nice to see. And our score is going up. And now we need to check. So I'm just going to stop the game. And I'm going to check to see, well, first of all, the food goes back over here. This one gets deleted. And the score goes back to 0. And we go back to the original length. So we need to make sure all that is happening. If it's not, that means one of your defaults is not in place. So let's just check that all together. Exactly, that happens. Scores back to 0, food gets deleted, goes back to the original place, and the game continues again. And obviously if we collide with ourselves, so I'm just going to try that, there we go, and the game ends because we collided with ourselves. All right, so that was it. That was the snake game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I challenge you to try the game out. It's a really fun game, and it gets really tough after like 10 or 12. It gets really tough to keep doing it because you get so large and it's so hard to not collide with yourself. So definitely go ahead and try it. See what is the highest score that you can get. Challenge your friends and family, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'll see you in the next video.